I really can't wait to see all the clever comments on the Needle Drops review of this. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of what is actually the first ever EP by the Canadian superstar, The Weeknd. It's titled My Dear Melancholy. This new EP is definitely detailing some relationships of his prolific relationships and his highly star-studded relationships, I guess I could say, that he's been involved in the past couple of years, most notably Selena Gomez. If you notice the set change, it's because I actually visited my girlfriend for Easter, and I still wanted to film this review, but I am using her backdrop instead of my own. So that answers that. The Weeknd's popularity has absolutely exploded over the course of the past few years. Can't Feel My Face, The Hills, In the Night, I Feel It Comin', Starboy, and his albums Beauty Behind the Madness and Starboy have just been immensely popular, with multiple Billboard Hot 100 hits, #1s, everything like that. But I think that The Weeknd has had a complicated relationship with the fame in a way, because it's been known that he's struggled with some suicidal tendencies. I think obviously pills have been brought up in his music many times, and the way that he copes with the emotional pain and just the mindless sex that he uses to take his mind off of things. And on this EP, I think that he's getting back to his roots. He was kind of alluding to that on Starboy. I feel like there were a couple of tracks where he just really expressed a distaste with his popularity, saying, you know, I'm not a Teen Choice Award. I wrote a song about my face going numb off of a bag of blow, and you're giving me a Teen Choice Award for the best or select song for kids. Okay, so here he is returning to his roots. A couple of his friends in the rap scene and the music scene in general, like Travis Scott and the likes, were tweeting out that Abel Tesfaye was going back to his roots on this new EP, and I can definitely see that being the case. I'm getting some early vibes from these tracks, but with modernized production, of course. And I am a big fan of those early trilogy of mixtapes. I'm talking like the House of Balloons type stuff, because there were so many great tracks on there, and ones that I feel like just were more representative of his personality. And while I did enjoy lots of Beauty Behind the Madness and Starboy, they felt a bit hit and miss here and there. Now, I like the production on this new EP a whole lot. We're talking the likes of Frank Dukes, even Skrillex on a track called Wasted Times, which is a total banger. And then we have Gesaffelstein, who is someone who actually worked with Kanye West on Yeezus, who I feel like did great work there. And while he wasn't the primary producer on that album, he did have a couple of tracks that he worked on, Send It Up and Black Skinhead. He wasn't the primary producer for those songs even, but he definitely had his contributions, and I can see how his style worked over to this EP. I feel like Abel was introduced to Gesaffelstein probably by Daft Punk, considering they worked heavily on his last album Starboy, and Daft Punk worked with Kanye West, and Gesaffelstein doesn't have a ton of credits according to Genius in terms of production. He's worked with A$AP Rocky, Kanye, and The Weeknd, and that is it in terms of professional credits. And on this EP, he does produce two of the tracks, I Was Never There and Hurt You, and Hurt You being probably my favorite track on this entire EP. I love the shrill of the synthesizers that open and close this track. It's almost like a little bit of an industrial type grind, and that and I Was Never There have some of the most cutting lyrical content and the most vivid details of his relationships really sinking into everything. I Was Never There is definitely bitter, and then Hurt You is something where he really details his time, I feel like, with Selena Gomez most notably, probably, considering he didn't want to do this, but it's like, I don't know, pettiness on both sides probably made that happen. Try Me is super flavorful. I love the reverb-soaked guitars that are kind of stuttered throughout him, the synthesizers that definitely is reminiscent of his early work, and I can definitely see him going back to his old ways, like he said on one of the tracks on this very EP. He talks about slipping into that, and you can definitely see that in some ways. I think maybe it's good for him, but in the other ways, I can see that he's kind of falling back into some tendencies that weren't so great, some thoughts, some depressions, and obviously, as the final track Privilege says, he's talking about the pills once again. 2 reds to take away the blues. Privilege is definitely a shot at Selena Gomez, say what you will, but it definitely feels that way, and I really like this track for what it is. I like that the confrontation isn't so direct that he's absolutely saying her name or a specific lover's name on really any of the tracks, but it's normally pretty clear who he's talking about, and here he uses the example of like her having so much privilege and stuff, knowing that he's super privileged himself, he has so much money, but it's just that much more of a punch to her, I feel like, because he's saying these things. And he talks talks about things like, you know, I don't want you to hurt, I don't want you to feel bad. He knows that she's like dealing with like lupus and had to get a kidney transplant and everything like that. I think that he's just emotionally exhausted from this relationship, and maybe at the end of the day he sees what Justin Bieber was talking about, another ex of hers, and saying, you know what, I guess that she was too much of a handful. I don't know. Call Out My Name is the opening track on this EP, the one that's being pushed as the single, I believe, and that one definitely has the catchiness and the allure to it that could make it another big Weeknd hit. I think that he has so much charisma and charm on many of these tracks, and while there's been so many imitators that have come along after him trying to be the next Abel Tesfaye, the next Weeknd or whatever, I just don't feel like anybody has what Abel has, and that is the actual voice, the actual singing power, the actual range to hit those high notes, the low notes, and the emotional marks, while still having some sort of clout and believability when it comes to his braggadocious attitude. Once again, Call Out My Name has a great aura to it, as does this EP in general. It goes down smooth, it's easy to listen to, and it has a bunch of bangers on here. There's really not a track that I dislike. There's some that get a bit repetitive with the really run-on choruses that just have like a certain phrase that they keep cycling back to, but overall, I have to say that I'm really impressed with this EP. Not the best thing ever, maybe not even the Weeknd's best thing ever by a long shot, but still an enjoyable 21-song experience that I think you guys should definitely check out. Me personally, I'm going to rate this a 4 out of 5. That makes 3 really good projects that have come out this week. If you want to, be sure to check my channel so you don't miss any of those. Make sure you subscribe if you are new to my channel, and if you want to check out another Weeknd review right here, another recent video right over here, all of my socials can be found in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, supporting the videos, and if you're able to, support me on Patreon at the top link down below. Other than that, I'll see you soon on ARTV.